Biology's second law? What the devil is that? I'll get right to the point. Biology's second law is what I call the phenomenon otherwise known as homeostasis. Naming homeostasis as biology's second law raises an obvious question. What's biology's first law? That one's easy. It's Darwinian natural selection. I'll admit this seems an odd way to put it. In our modern theory of evolution, only one law is needed. The philosopher Daniel Dennett puts it this way when he speaks of Darwinism as being biology's universal acid. By this, he means that the principle of natural selection is able to cut through and etch clear the answers to all questions related to life. What it is, where it came from, how it works, and most importantly, how it evolves. In this view, it's absurd to speak of a second law of biology. If homeostasis exists, indeed, if any attribute of a living system exists, it exists because it confers some selective advantage to the creatures that have it. And that's all we need to know. The universal acid has cut right through this problem. The real problem, though, is that it hasn't really. There are, in fact, a number of fundamental problems in biology for which our modern conception of Darwinism has had little useful to say. There's no good Darwinian explanation for the origin of life, for example. The same goes for the problem of biological design. Why is it that organisms seem to be built so well to do what they do? Why is it that organisms, those complex and coherent assemblages of trillions of cells, have emerged as a common evolutionary motif? And why, if they're so important, did they only emerge about 1 billion years ago, some 3 billion years after life first appeared on Earth? The root of the problem is that biology in general, and evolutionary biology in particular, lacks a coherent theory of adaptation. Adaptation refers generally to the emergence of so-called apt function and structure, the so-called good fit of organisms to their environments, and of the organism's various parts to one another. The problem is that we have two definitions of the term. Ask a physiologist about adaptation, and you'll get one answer, generally a discussion of function. How, for example, a bone comes to be structured to bear a particular load. Ask an evolutionary biologist about adaptation, and you're likely to get another answer, probably a discussion of selection of genes for apt function, whatever that means. This lack of agreement wouldn't be much of an issue if we were talking about a minor problem in biology. It wouldn't matter much if I thought, say, birds were the grandchildren of dinosaurs, and you thought they were only cousins to dinosaurs. But that's not the case for adaptation. It's at the very core of our conceptions of life and its evolution. We should be in some agreement over what it is, but we're not, and that's a real problem. It's a problem because a coherent theory of biology cannot emerge without bridging these disparate ideas about adaptation. My contention is that homeostasis, properly understood as biology's second law, is the bridge that can do it. This series is part of my attempt to build that bridge. It's a grand, complicated, and fascinating story, and it will lead us far beyond science and deeply into the history and philosophy of biology. That journey will pay dividends because how we think about life can be as important as what we think about it. For decades now, we've been consumed with the what of biology and have largely neglected the how of biology. The incoherency that currently permeates modern biology is largely a product of that neglect. So please join me. I think you'll find the journey worthwhile.